This is Z calling in from Texas. Z, you are live on Talk Heathen. What's going on?
Hey, what's up from Houston, bro? What's up?
Houston, Texas.
Can you hear me?
How's it going? Yeah, we can hear you. How's it going, Z?
Good. How you doing?
We're doing great.
I'm brand new,
Welcome
mate.
to Talk Heathen. What do you want to talk to us about today?
Well, I was a guy who was like, you ever seen a fish turn into a monkey on the live chat?
Okay.
I just want to kind of substantiate that. I'm not really a theist. I'm not really like a Christian or whatever, but I just wanted to let people know that this evolution theory is in itself a dogma as well. It's the same thing.
So when you say, I've never seen a fish turn into a monkey, I mean, like, I've never literally seen a fish turn into a monkey. But before we even go there, in your own words, what do you think evolution is?
They say we came from a single cell, bro. They say all of came from a single cell organism underneath. It doesn't really make sense.
Okay.
But
So all life on
a lot more
Earth
goes into it.
comes from, like, all multicellular life on Earth eventually came from, like, far enough down the line from single-celled organisms, right?
As far as we know, yeah.
I think that's one way to put it, right? Yeah.
Definitive proof of that at all?
Well, what would constitute for you as proof? If that idea could be true, what would you expect to see?
Even moving, it doesn't have to be the single cell to the multi-cell.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
But I learned evolution in school too. They think some sort of fish, some sort of water life form grew legs and walked on Earth, right?
Yeah,
But
well,
it's a bit more complicated than that, I
There's
think.
no proof to that. There's no proof to that at all. That's
But I'm just
kind of
gonna-
ridiculous.
Z, just a second. First of all, you might want to call in on a day where our good friend Forrest Valkai is hosting, because he does this for a living, and I can paraphrase some of the things he says. There's plenty of proof that evolution is a ongoing active process. Fossil records, the genetics, and all kinds of very technical stuff that's above my head because I haven't studied it particularly deeply, though I do trust those that have. And the thing is that it's the best model we've got right now that fits the best with the evidence that we have right now. So do you have a better model?
I have a better model, but I'm saying this model, you have to believe things in order for this model to work for you. The dogma. That's what I'm saying.
Well, it's not dogmatic. They have changed it several times in light of new evidence.
it's true. It's true. Our tree of
They-
phylogeny.
when it first came out, they used it to try to substantiate white people were more evolved than black people. That was in Darwin. And do you know Darwin's cousin?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Anthropology in the early history of its science was incredibly racist. In fact, anthropology was basically almost, I would say, hot take, invented to, like, justify racism. It's really bad if you look at it, and there's no defending the early opinions of anthropologists. But if you look at what anthropology has done today, one, the frank disavowalment of what early anthropologists have had to say, but if you also look at what the evidence they had to use to justify racial superiority, it doesn't hold up, right? We're talking about things like phrenology, right? The study of one's head sizes and head shapes to determine things like personality and things like that. Other kinds of metrics that were used that are no longer used in modern day science because they don't justify the conclusions that they allegedly are purported to, support, right? So, like, yes, anthropology has a wicked history, but that doesn't mean what we talk about today in anthropology reflects those views that existed over 100 years ago, right?
And I would like to push back on one small point. You say that we have to have belief in things to go along with evolution, and I think you're trying to construe as in the trust in the evidence. I believe the evidence is true because I trust it, with belief as in faith, which is belief without evidence.
Of something between a fish and a monkey or a land creature. There's no... These things... First, you have to prove that an animal, a bird, can turn into a wolf, or one type of animal just turn to any type of animal for any reason.
No, you don't.
What if I told you that your DNA is more in common with a chimpanzee in some circumstances than other human beings on Earth? Would you believe me if I told you that?
I mean, yeah. Our DNA is like closest out of pigs too.
Yes, that's true.
And we all happen to be
And yet,
mammals.
despite our DNA being so similar to other, particularly mammals on Earth, right? Hope you're listening here. If despite us being so similar in DNA structure, on the outside, right, like we do look completely different. And I think that's where that kind of confusion draws in. But it turns out, these differences in the combinations of nucleic acids can make a huge difference in our phenotypes, right? Our outside figures, more so than what it maybe reflects on the inside. I mean, like that in itself, the fact that most multicellular organisms on Earth do have these same combinations, that in itself is evidence of evolution. I wouldn't expect that if we were all created separately. I wouldn't see a reason for us to have these kinds of similarities.
And there's plenty of evidences that even a layperson like myself can understand. Like, I have a vestigial tail for no reason other than that my ancestors had one.
Yeah. And I had my appendix removed when I was 12 because it was going to rupture. And an appendix doesn't really, as far as most modern science has been able to determine, doesn't really do much for most humans. Pretty much kills people more than it really helps people, right? I mean, that's an example of a vestigial organ.
Came from evolution too.
Sorry?
These are the mysteries science has to figure out. We can't just...
They have.
Conscious came from evolution. Zero proof of that at all, and just take that as the answer.
We've laid out that there is plenty of proof. We're not evolutionary scientists, and if I actually got the proof out in the form that it's presented, it would be very complicated.
Say there's no definitive proof of these things. Evidence is evidence. You can use the same evidence to paint a whole different theory. Evidence and proof aren't the same thing.
Okay, what do you believe to be the difference between evidence and proof?
If someone was murdered at a bar and you were at the bar, I could say that's empirical evidence. I could use that to say you murdered them. I can say you didn't like them. That could be true. It's more empirical evidence. But if a picture of me came out doing the deed, that's proof. You
okay. I could see that distinction. I would say in a legal setting, they both count as evidence, right? Like they would both be submitted.
The reason they use evidence and proof in legal and science because they're trying to get to something definitive in both.
Okay, I work in a field called e-discovery. I don't really talk about my real job outside of here, but like I work in legal cases. They use the word evidence. They don't use the word proof. That's not a thing, at least in American court of law, right? You used evidence in discovery. So just want to point that out right there, right? Evidence is the term that we use because evidence is exactly that, evidence. Proof, in some fields that's applicable, like mathematics, for example, they use proofs, but evidence means a very particular thing. And it's important that we define these terms, right? When we talk about the evidence that leads us to the conclusion that evolution is the best theory that explains what we observe, we have exactly that. It's just signs that indicate. It may not be deductive inferences, although sometimes they are. A lot of times they are inductive. Let me finish, please. But we can still make very coherent and very cogent arguments about what we know about our observations of the world and how they reflect our better understanding of our history through evolution than we can with literally any other explanation that has ever tried to describe multicellular or even unicellular life's origins, right? Like there's been no other explanation that has had the best explanatory power that evolution has, period.
That doesn't mean it's true.
It may not mean it's true, but why should I believe anything else?
Well, you just said you believe it. That's what I'm saying. You have to believe it.
Because the preponderance of evidence leads to these conclusions. It's the best model that fits with what we observe.
I think too. Let's clarify here because you're making a distinction. You're saying I believe something, and you're saying you know something as a fact. So I think
yes, I know for a fact birds have hollow bones. That's a fact, right?
Sure. I mean, but when I say believe,
that's because
I may also
single cell organism. That's something else completely.
Well, I need to be clear because when we're saying know and believe, we might be saying the same thing here, right? Like, I don't want to get caught in a semantic argument here. When we say believe, I mean the preponderance, like as Jamie was saying, the preponderance of evidence best suits this conclusion. So I believe, therefore, this conclusion. That's what I mean when I say that. And that can also, in some circumstances, count as knowledge as well. But again, like, I want to be very specific when I use my words. So I don't think there's like quite the difference that you're saying here. I also believe that birds have hollow bones. And I guess you could say I know for a fact, but I do believe it. I've never seen a bird's hollow bones, to be fair, like myself. I have to trust that that's like a thing. So, you know, there it is.
I mean, yeah, like talking about semantics, you know, that's why I kind of wanted to, that's why I even said anything about evidence and proof. These things aren't the same word. In English, they're not the same words in science. And people do this a lot, even for theories. People like to say theories are facts when they think scientists use these words.
In science, a theory is the highest. No, let me say this. In science, a theory is the highest level to which a model can reach.
I heard it before. I know that, bro.
So why don't you accept that?
Highest level is knowing. You can't believe something that's like.
You can never truly know anything.
Information you can receive.
You never truly, absolutely know anything.
You know, birds have hollow bones. Something we just discovered. You know.
Are you even listening to me?
Listen, look again.
Longest of facts.
This is a semantics.
Birds are white.
This is a semantics argument here, right? You're saying you know things for some reason, and I don't know how you're qualifying your knowing things as different from my believing things. Mm-hmm. Like, how is that different? You say, let me put it this way. You say you know birds' bones are hollow. I say I believe birds' bones are hollows. What's the difference?
I feel like the difference, you know too. I don't know why you're saying you believe.
Because I do believe it.
The difference is,
I can know something. I can know something and also believe something, right? Like, that doesn't have to be different, right?
What are you saying?
Say again?
What are you saying exactly?
I'm asking you. You're saying there's such a big difference because you know that birds' bones are hollow, and I say I believe that birds' bones are hollow, and you're saying, oh well, I know it. Like, what's the difference between what you're saying and what I'm saying?
I could show you, and then you can know it too.
Oh, I can show you that birds' bones are hollow too. But I still believe that.
I can really prove that in any way possible.
But I can show you that birds' bones are hollow, and I can still say I believe birds' bones are hollow, right? So, like, why are you making this big deal that you say you know things and I say I believe things, and that's somehow, like, epistemically different? Like, I don't understand.
I just said, the first thing I said was this is a dogma. It requires belief. That's the first thing I said when I got on.
Listen, all knowledge claims require belief, right? Can you tell me something you know that you don't believe?
The sky is blue. I don't need to believe. I know for a fact. I know that every day.
Do you believe that the sky is blue? If I asked you, do you believe the sky is blue, what would you say?
I know the sky is blue.
Okay, but if I asked you, do you believe that the sky is blue, would you say yes?
I would say I know.
Okay, so wait. Are you saying you don't believe that the sky is blue?
I know it's blue.
But do you believe that the sky is blue? Do you see my point here? All knowledge claims require belief. That's why this distinction you're making is nothing. There is nothing to this. You're just saying all we believe is dogma, and we have to require some sort of magic belief, and that's what evolution is. No, it's not.
And the irony,
this is a straw man argument, right? We believe things because we have a preponderance of evidence, right? As Jamie has said, we can call it knowledge. You can call it whatever you like. We're still looking at the evidence here. That's what draws our conclusions.
And the irony is that I stick to the word belief in something because I don't want to be dogmatic. I want to be able to be open to change.
Right.
If new evidence comes up, better evidence, I don't want to go, nope, that's not what I know, so I'm going to reject it. So no, that's why I stick to belief and only say I know things very rarely.
Yeah.
That's just how I am.
Okay.
I'm not going to just believe something because 97% of scientists do.
Okay.
You know what ethos persuasion is? Are you familiar with that term?
I'm very familiar with persuasion, yes.
I mean, logos persuasion. That's more
logos persuasion, yes. The use of logical rhetoric, yes.
And if you can't produce even a fossil of the in-between of a fish and a monkey,
but we can't
like that, then
we can and we do,
and that's something that can happen.
They are, first of all, logos, ethos, pathos, right? Using logical arguments versus ethics arguments versus emotional arguments, right? Very familiar with rhetoric, okay? You don't have to teach me anything on that front. Other point, yes, there's tons of transitional fossils. In fact, literally every fossil that exists ever is a transitional fossil because of how evolution works, right? You're different from the way your parents look, and you're not an exact copy. You do that because there's an exchange of information when you're produced as an offspring, and that's just how evolution happens.
Anything or primates. You know what I'm trying to say? Let's not get into the semantics, right?
What's the semantic distinction there?
That's what you said.
I don't know what.
Oh, there's a distinction now.
With what?
With apes and monkeys and primates. They came from primates. That's the scientific term, right?
Well, we are primates. Yes. Yeah.
Okay, so that's what I'm saying.
What are you saying? I don't know what you're saying.
Humans are in a transitional stage, so
yes.
every human fossil we find is transitional.
Yes.
Yeah.
Every fossil we find is transitional. By definition, it's transitional because all life is transitional. There's the only static copies we see in nature.
Only animals in transition.
If you're looking for a half fish, half monkey hybrid fossil, then I suggest you take a biology course.
You said they exist. It's not.
They do.
No.
Listen. Again, when I said earlier, right? Like if you look at broadly speaking on Earth, especially between mammals, but also even between other animals you wouldn't expect, like with reptiles and birds, right? Like we do share most of our DNA. Like most of our DNA is the same. That's what we would expect to see under evolution, right? But phenotypically, even though Jamie and I share like literally 99% of our DNA, you notice we look very different, right? So very small differences in DNA can make very big differences in the way people look. So like that's why
you're the same species, you're the same race, you're the same animal.
Right. So
when you say DNA and all DNA is similar, first of all, there's more evidence because we share a lot of DNA with bananas too. We share like 92% with bananas, like 90% with bananas.
Yes.
So this
because
claim does it really make?
Yeah, because they're multicellular life.
Getting that there, you know.
I'm sensing you've got a lot of incredulity as to the current model of evolution, and it just seems a little contrarian to me. I would suggest if you really want to find out about it, go and learn about it.
Yeah.
If you're not willing to trust, then go learn.
Yeah.
However, I would like to ask one slightly tangential question. Okay, let's say evolution is not real. You've proven it wrong.
Yeah.
What do we do now?
Nature. That's all I'm really trying to get across.
So you don't have anything to replace it or any idea of what we should do instead or any methodology that we could follow to better explain this world that we see around us? Then it's not a particularly useful position to keep.
That doesn't really explain, you know, but like you can believe it. That's what I'm saying. Like you can believe it if you want. Same way you can believe God just pulled everything out of nowhere. It's the same thing.
It is not the same thing because there's no evidence that God created the world as far as I can see.
Okay, so that's back to the same thing. Why are we the only transitional species that we find fossils for?
It sounds like you've learned this word, transitional species, and you're just parroting it at us. And it's not
also,
very constructive.
I really don't feel like you're listening to what we're saying at all because we've said several times every fossil is a transitional fossil, right? Because we're constantly in transition. When sexual reproduction happens, like you're going to get new combinations of genes. That's how evolution works.
I get that. But there's still such a thing as a bird. Like, that's a type of animal, right? Like, a bird is a type of animal, same way a human is a type of animal.
That's correct. What about Neanderthals? What about, any other, like Homo erectus, right? These are also animals, but they also could be counted as human, right? Like there's obviously evidence of Neanderthal DNA within ourselves. This has been demonstrated on multiple occasions.
What does that prove, though?
Well, why would a Neanderthal be able to have offspring with one of us?
We're lay people in this field as well. You're kind of asking the wrong guys. You're asking us to defend a science.
You can't go and have a baby with a primate, with a monkey, so that doesn't make sense.
Does it? Well, if a Neanderthalensis was around today and you had an offspring with it, what does that mean? Does that mean that it's a human too? I mean, these kinds of constructs we have to describe species, my greater point, right, are ultimately arbitrary, right? Like yes, they are. I mean, ask any scientist who studies the field of evolution.
No, I know.
They are arbitrary, but they're not arbitrary in the sense of, oh, we're just going to randomly pick here and there. Yes, we generally use viable offspring as a category for species, but there are also species that are different. Listen, I have to talk, and you cannot interrupt me while I'm talking, because that tells me that you are not listening. Do you understand? Do not waste my time. I will let you go.
And then y'all come dump me.
I will drop you. I will. I'm happy to do that. In fact, I'll do that right now, because I'm only interested in talking to people who are willing to listen. Okay? Obviously, you're not listening. If I could finish my fucking point, lions and tigers, guess what? You make ligers. That's the thing. 2 different animals. New species. Whoa. Is it a species? Depends on who you ask. Species differentiation is ultimately arbitrary categories come up by scientists. Viable offspring isn't always the most consistent attribute you can make to determine species.
Any actual evolutionary scientist out there listening, apologies that, like, I'm sure, like, no, but there's better points to make. But the thing is, like, you're asking us to defend this, and no, belief in a scientific theory is not the same as belief in God.
Yes. Also, I again assert the fact that, look, if you know something, you believe something, right? I don't know what it means to know something and not believe it. I mean, I just don't know. I don't know what that means, right? So these sort of arbitrary kind of just, oh, you just believe it because it's dogma. I mean, that's just, again, it's just a straw man. It doesn't prove anything.
And we get a little bit heated on these things because the kind of distrust in science that comes with this blanket distrust in evolution has so many horrible repercussions. It's why we have things like anti-vaxxers and stuff.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, anyway.
No, I get heated when people just are rude and
don't listen
or just don't care. Like it just wastes my time.